Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for holding brief for another mommy.
Yes.
Yeah, I was preparing my team so that they they don't interfere with us temporarily, and then life will go back to normal. So I have situated myself in a corner of the house so that I can serve you adequately. Yeah. So I want to welcome all the ladies who have taken time out of their normal schedule to be here with me today, with Sarah today. My prayer is at the end of it all, it's going to be worth the investment of time. And as always, before we start, I am going to do a Bible reading. Because we are here as moms who want to make ourselves better so that we show up for our children, our families better. So I'm going to read from 1 Corinthians 4, verse 2. 1 Corinthians 4, verse 2, and I'm going to use a different version of the Bible. So this one says that those who are trusted with something valuable must show they are worthy of that trust. Those who are trusted with something valuable must show they are worthy of that trust. God, in his wisdom, knew that you're going to be a mom. If you're like me, I never knew I'd be a mom, but there are those who dreamt of being moms. But in whichever situation, God still chose you to be a mom. So now that we are here to learn, I pray that at the end, you will tell God, thank you that I took 1.5 hours because I am worthy of the calling that you gave me as a mom. What valuable thing has he given you? He's given you babies, but babies are representatives of our future, because God gives you these children so that you mold them into people that he needs you to be, so that one day they will live out their purpose and change the world. And so that's what is valuable. And so when you spend your 1.5 hours just listening, learning, asking questions to Sarah, you are doing something valuable and God will be happy. So let us say a short prayer so that we really give Sarah a lot of time to take as much knowledge as we can from her. So let us say a short prayer. Father, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, we want to come before you this cold but beautiful morning. We want to thank you for the gift of time that you have accorded all these ladies who are showing up today. I want to pray for Sarah. I want to pray that she is completely covered by the blood of Jesus, even as she does this presentation, that each and every word that she presents with power may land in our hearts, so that we can then take action and take care of these valuable children that you have given us stewardship over. We pray over all the devices being used. We pray over Wi-Fi, we pray over electricity, we pray over our thoughts that we may not be distracted. And for those who, like me, have children around the house, that God, for these 1.5 hours, you may give them calmness and just the desire to be obedient and to stay in their spaces so that we may learn on their behalf. We thank you, God, for this time because you knew it would come. In Jesus' name we pray and most of all believe. Amen. 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 Thank you, ladies. Thank you. I've seen we are increasing. So Sarah is actually showed up for Chasing Courage, and that's how we met. We've never met physically, which is the beauty of what Corona is doing. It's creating, expanding our friendship base just through normal conversations of interest. So Sarah is she's a counseling psychologist, and she's the founder of a firm called Hopewell Counseling. So I know she has a lot to teach us in regards to having healthy boundaries and self-care for moms, and how much we need self-care, oh Lord, isn't it? Especially at this time, because we are serving everybody and we may forget ourselves. So I know, Sarah, you're going to do justice to this topic. I had Sarah referenced the chat. If you have any questions or comment, please feel free to write as we go along. I usually have a notebook next to me. If you're taking any notes, you can star the things that stand out for you. If you have a question at the top of your page, you can write it there so that when we ask any comments or questions, yours are already ready. I want to honor your time. Our hope was to start the conversation at 11:15. And I can see we have 3 minutes. So I'm very thankful for all of you who have shown up. We are now at 13, now 14. May the Lord bless you. Sarah, I want to release this conversation to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I'm gonna begin here. I hope all of you are comfortable. If you need a cup of tea, water, you know, something just to keep you warm, I have my water. So if you see me sipping, please, you can also have yours. All right. So I'm gonna begin by asking a few questions to ask, and I'll give us a few minutes to reflect on them. So the first question, question, I'm going to ask 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 statements, and my question for you is to think back and see if there are any of these statements that you have made to yourself or for yourself. So the question is, have you made any of these statements, either in the past week, in the past month, in the past 2 months, or basically in your past in general? And the first statement is, I can't make my own decisions. So if you have made any of these statements, just note it down. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7. You'll note for me how many of them you have made for yourself. So the first statement is, I can't make my own decisions. The second one, I can't ask for what I need. That's the second one. I can't ask for what I need. The third one, I can't say no. The fourth one is, I feel criticized. The fifth one is, I feel responsible for their feelings. And the sixth and last one is, I am nervous. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to just think on those statements, and yeah, how many of them have you made to yourself, or have you made? Okay. Kama umemark 4 out of, if you have marked 4 out of 6, 1 out of 6, 6 out of 6, you know, feel free to, in the chat, just tell us how many of them you have made about yourself and which ones specifically they are. And then now I want to ask you the second question. Have you ever felt drained around a person? Like you're showing up to meet someone, and even before you show up to meet them, you're like, I'm already drained. They haven't said anything. I haven't left my house, but I'm already just drained. So that's the second question that I want to ask you. And I'm sure for most of us as moms, that second question, the answer is yes, you must have felt drained around a person. And sometimes even for us as moms, it's maybe you're coming from work and you're going home and you're like, oh my God, I have to make plans for supper. I have to make plans for my kids, what they're going to do all day tomorrow. And suddenly you're already feeling drained, or you get home and you find your husband has not reached and you're already like, oh my God, not another day. So that's the first question. And I know that many of us have felt drained at some point and around specific people. Another very key example for us as moms is with our in-laws, when either they are coming around or we are going home and we are already drained by the thought of so-and-so is coming to see us, or I have to go and see so-and-so. And that's the backdrop that I want to give us for this conversation on healthy boundaries and self-care. And because I know all of us, or majority of us, know what boundaries are. Boundaries is not something that needs to be defined because all of us know what it is. But the question that I have for us is, why are they important? Why are boundaries important for us as moms? And why should it matter? Why should it matter if I say no, or I say yes, or I don't say anything at all? And so the first answer I want to give us is because it teaches other people how to relate with us. That's the first reason healthy boundaries are important, because it tells the other person, it tells your daughter or your son or your husband or your father or your brother how to treat you and how to relate with you, or your friend. So that's the first reason it's important. The second reason it's important is because of respect. Boundaries, interestingly, and coincidentally or paradoxically, boundaries create respect. Though many of us say, I don't want to put boundaries because I feel like I'm going to push this person away. I'm going to push, or this is going to be misinterpreted, and I'm going to lose this relationship. But actually, boundaries end up creating a lot of respect. I'll give an example of the work context. When you're working, let me give you an example of the home context and when you have a house help in your home. And one day you discover that the way she usually talks to you is everything. She just says anything and everything that comes to her mind. And you and her have conversations about everything. Neighbor who's having a story, and you will tell your house girl, hey, did you see that neighbor? And the way she's doing ABCD. Did you see her children? Did you see, the way they're dressed, or the way they talk, or, there's all this conversation. And so there's very little respect in that relationship, even for other people, and also for yourself, because this house girl feels we can talk about anything with Mama Fulani, or I can say anything or whatever to her. But she doesn't even know that there are things that should not be said, or there are conversations that should not be had, or that there are conversations that are not supposed to be, they should not be talked about, basically, because that's not the kind of relationship that should be there. And so there are no boundaries. So that's a very classic example of where disrespect comes in. And then many of us as moms will start saying, hey, lately, my house girl, she doesn't have respect. The way she's been behaving, the way she has been talking, there's a problem. We are becoming too familiar with each other, but not realizing that the reason is because we never set any boundaries to start. And so that's the other thing, that's why boundaries are important, if I could give the context of our home settings, because they breed, or they lead to a setup where there's a lot of respect. Now, there's this question that I keep hearing a lot when we talk about boundaries, and it's, how do I set the boundaries? How do I tell someone no? How do I say, how do I say that this makes me uncomfortable? So first of all, when your boundaries are crossed, you feel uncomfortable. I'll give you an example of me with my daughter today. So not today, yesterday night. Yesterday night, I get home from a session. My final session was a bit late in the night. And then I go to the house, and she's just on me. I haven't even removed my shoes. She's already on me, telling me, Mom, this and that, and this and that happened. And my ears it's like my ears are buzzing. I'm like, there's a sound in my ears because of how exhausted I am. And she's already she wants to tell me what her day was like. And there's usually a feeling that I get of, oh, she's my daughter. I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to feel bad by telling her, go and sit on that chair for a minute first. I need a break. So I often end up embracing her and telling her, oh, okay, so how was your day? She's telling me about her day, and I'm busy removing my shoes and trying to even figure out, is there food in this house? And that was the experience that I was having yesterday. That gave me an example of an area that I need to put boundaries. And what he told me, she's my daughter, but I'm feeling irritated just because nimeingia kwa nyumba, I've just gotten into my house and she's already on my case. I'll give you guys another example of we have a girl in our home who works for us, and when I get home, or the first question she asks, if it's lunchtime, lunch, if it's supper, supper. And I'm like, what about supper? Or what about lunch? It's like there's completely no understanding of this needs to be a complete statement of what are we going to have for supper. And so those are just examples of areas in my personal life where I feel like there are no boundaries and it's completely gray. And I know that I need to have boundaries because I start to feel uncomfortable. I start to get irritated. I start to feel anxious. I start to feel drained. I start to feel I don't want to be in this situation. Those are some of the indicators that there needs to be some boundaries here, because for me, I'm starting to feel uncomfortable. And so that's why it's important for us to know how to set the boundaries. And I was watching a video as I was preparing for this session by Oprah Winfrey, and she had a host, and the host was saying that no is a full and complete statement. Because we are women, we'll say, no, don't do that, because, and then you're gonna give like 5 explanations of why you're saying no. Or somebody, maybe, let me give you a context. Your child asks you for money and you say, no, I don't have, no, and then immediately, even on me, by instinct, I'm saying no, and the next words out of my mouth are, I don't have money. I have to give an explanation. And this is so often and common, not just in the relationships in our homes, but even with other people in our families. Like, for example, if your brother calls you and tells you, or your sister calls you and tells you, please send me some 500 shillings, I'm stuck somewhere. You don't even want to say, you might not even have the money, but you are unable to say no, and your response will be, I'm going to just give me a few minutes. And what you're doing in that few minutes is getting yourself into debt to bail out your relative, because you don't want to say no, or you feel like you can't say no. And so I've just given an example of money, but there are many examples. Can you come and visit us? Can my child come over to your place? There are so many examples where our first or our silent answer is no, but the answer that we speak is, okay, let me see, we are already accommodating when our initial instinct and response was to say no. So first of all is understanding that saying no is a complete statement on its own. It doesn't need to have explanation or justification. We do it because we want to be liked. We do it because we are scared that if we just say, I can't do it now, it's going to lead to some tension, or we are going to have an issue in our relationship. But it's okay for us to say no and have it as a complete statement. Just no, full stop, full stop. Not, because, and then you have a list of 5 other things that you want to use to explain why you're giving this answer. But it's a complete statement. And it's a complete statement because for us, what they're asking, we are unable to do. Or the behavior that is happening is unacceptable to us. And so it's important for us to say what we feel is unacceptable. I'm answering the question of how do we set the boundaries by defining for ourselves what is unacceptable. If a boy can't come to your house because you have teenage daughters and sleep there, that is unacceptable for you. Then when your cousin calls and tells you that he wants to come over, and you're already saying, maybe I'll see, I'm not sure what to do, or I don't know how this is going to be taken, that is usually an indicator that this is an issue for concern. This is something that for you is unacceptable, but you are becoming, or you are choosing to forbear with the person because you don't want to have some, riffraff, or you don't want to have an issue, or you don't want to not be liked or not to be appreciated. And that's it's unacceptable for me, but I'm choosing to compromise on my boundary for the sake of being liked. That's actually what that communicates. And sadly for us as women, many times people end up taking advantage of us because they feel that they can either manipulate us or they can either put us in a corner because we care about what they're going to say about us very, very much. It's like 150%. If they like us, that's a plus. So we are going to compromise because we want their affection, or we want them to like us. And the other reason is because we don't have or are not clear on what are our values for ourselves. And so because that's unclear for us, it's determined by other people. Other people, I mean, for us, you, the person, not you, the wife, not you, the mom, not you, the daughter, not any other of those relationships, but you, the self. So for you, this is a value that is unclear. And so it's determined by whoever has a bigger voice, or whoever is louder, or whoever insists more. And so that's the other way that we set boundaries, is by identifying what is important to me. What are my values? What matters to me? That's the second thing that we do. So you first determine what is unacceptable. Like this one, no. I'll give you another example. For me, I'm a bit old school. So if I see my daughter wearing tights without a dress, I'm like, go and wear a skirt or go and wear a dress. You're not going to wear tights without a dress in my house. And because that's unacceptable. Though when she walks outside, all the other children are just wearing tights without skirts and dresses. But because this is my home and this is unacceptable, it's not going to happen. So for us, as moms, it is knowing and defining for ourselves what is unacceptable for me as a mother, what is unacceptable for me as a woman, too, those two. And also then, what are my values? What is important to me? There are people who really value honesty and truth. And there are people who don't mind ukidanganywa moja mbili, bora the goal has been achieved. And so, what are your values? Because those then determine what is acceptable and what is unacceptable for you. So that's how you set your boundaries. And you apply them, first of all, by communicating. So that's another issue that happens with many of us. So we have boundaries, but we are the only ones who know that these are our boundaries. Nobody else knows that this is a boundary for us. And so they keep disregarding it, and we keep getting hurt and keep getting angry. But the other person is wondering, what's wrong with you? Why are you mad? I'll give you an example. In my house, I can't have dishes that were for breakfast at lunchtime in the sink waiting. And now when I come home and I find dishes in my sink at 2 p.m. and they're for breakfast, it's cups of tea, I'm angry, I'm livid. But people are looking at me and they're wondering, why are you mad? What's making you irritated? We don't know. And so I just start to argue with everyone in that house so that they can know. Dirty cups for tea at lunchtime in my sink? No. But that's the thing, we don't communicate. But if I had communicated earlier and told this person, actually in my home, dishes should be clean. Dishes for breakfast should be cleaned at breakfast. Dishes for supper, for lunch should be cleaned at this time. Had I communicated it clearly, then my boundary would have been respected. So most times people don't know these are our boundaries, or they're even crossing them, and they're just trying to figure out, why are we angry? Why are we mad? They can't understand why we are angry. So that's the second thing. After you have defined what is acceptable, what is unacceptable, what are my values, communicate them. Communicate them to your family. If you're the kind of person, if a relative is coming to your home, they should leave that day. They are not sleeping because you don't have an extra bed. Don't wake up in the morning, you are so mad, you're making tea that is so long, nobody can enjoy it, and they're wondering, why is she angry? But they didn't know that when they come to your home, for you, it's a value that they go back to their homes in the evening. And so you need to communicate those values to the people with whom you relate. If you have a boundary, for example, when it comes to time with your children, you should be able to communicate that this time is for my children, this time is for me. If you're going to have 5 minutes to yourself or 10 minutes to yourself, communicate that, because your daughter will not know that when you come home, you want 5 minutes to yourself. So she will just assume and she will just do whatever it is that she wants to do. But when you communicate that when I come home, I need around 5 or 10 minutes to myself, then now we can start engaging and talking. tomorrow she's not going to insist and she's not going to push because it's clear. But also the key word is clear. It needs to be clear. It should not be vague, because vague means that the other person will interpret for themselves. So it has to be very clear communication on your end. And the other thing, the last thing on boundaries is consequences. When your boundaries are disregarded, what are the consequences? That's where the other issue comes in. When somebody in your home shows up and they just woke up and showed up. They got into a bus, drove 3 hours to your house, did not even tell you that they were coming. You hear them on the door. Today, you communicate clearly that for me, you have to call me before you come to my house because I need to prepare for you, or I may have other things to do. So don't just come to my house if you haven't communicated. Then tomorrow, next week, they just assume, she was just talking. So next week, they're on your door at 6 p.m. in the night, have knocked, they didn't tell you anything. What's the consequence? There has to be a consequence. For us, most of us as women, we just say, they're my relatives, so I just have to appreciate and accept them. I just have to, allow them and treat them well. But if there's no consequence, that's how they will learn that's how to react and to relate with you. So that's the other thing that you define for yourself. If this is a boundary for me, what's the consequence when it is not respected? What's the consequence when it's disregarded? And this is a boundary that's important for us as moms and us as women, because I'll give another example of physical contact, because there are people who are just touching. Their hands just have to be on you. They can't be on any other thing other than you. Even when you're just having a very professional meeting, you communicate clearly, but the next time you interact, this person is still touching. What becomes the consequence? So that's the other thing that you need to define for yourself. This is what is my value. I trust, I appreciate honesty, and I find lies disrespectful. And someone lies to me, I communicate that I don't like this is disrespectful. What happens when they lie again? There must be a consequence. So that's what you also need to identify for yourself, that if this happens, I have communicated clearly and they're still disregarding my boundary, what's the consequence? And that's where the respect comes in. You'll be very amazed at how much respect is earned and created just from being very clear on what are your boundaries, communicating them clearly, and having consequences. That's why you hear statements like, hey, so-and-so, you can't just go to her place anyhowly. You have to call first. Or when it's her house, if you're sleeping here, you have to wash dishes. You can't just sleep and wait until it's 3 p.m. so that you can wash dishes. That's an example of respect that is being shown because you are putting up healthy boundaries. And so that's where I want to leave it at. Have your boundaries, what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, what are your values, communicate them clearly, I have to insist here, and give consequences for when they are disregarded. Now, how do they affect us? When you have your values and your boundaries disregarded, first of all, you start to have a lot of conflict with people. There's a lot of push and pull because people feel that they can do whatever with you, and this is an internal conflict for you that is manifested with other people and they're not even sure what's going on. So that's the first way that it affects you. There are many conflicts that you would end up resolving if you are clear on your boundaries and if you stuck to them. If you said no and it remained no, there are many conflicts that will be resolved. The other thing that happens is that we lose balance, because as women, we have a tendency, we are caregivers. We have a tendency to just take on much more than we are comfortable. So you're told, will you go and see so-and-so this weekend? Yes. Will you be the secretary in the church chama? Yes. Will you be the treasurer in the other group for women in your nyumba kumi? Yes. And so you take up so many responsibilities that you end up losing balance. And the other big issue that happens for us as women and moms is that we forget that we even exist. Like, you, the person, sort of go to the back of the list. If you were to, I was giving a client an example the other day, if they were to list what is important to them as a mom or as a person, they would start either with their children, their spouse, then other relatives. Some will not even put themselves on the list. But there are other people, it will be vice versa. Oh, my spouse, then my children, then my sister, then my brother, then so and so, my mom, my dad. And people rarely put themselves on the list, especially women, because we feel like all these other people have to come first. All these other people have to be cared for before we even take care of ourselves. And by the time we are taking care of everybody, we are so exhausted that we say, I'll do my hair tomorrow. I'll buy my shoes next week. I'll take myself out next year. So every time we keep, it's like if it was a list, we keep going lower and lower on the list. If your name is Anne, there's your son, your daughter, your mom, your brother, you keep going from, if you are at number 3, you keep going down and down to number 10, 15, 20, until you even remove yourself on the list. And for many of us as women and moms, that is how our lives evolve. Even when it comes to our children, it's their needs that come first. You'll see, hey, my firstborn daughter doesn't have a book. My secondborn daughter doesn't have this. My office needs this. My child needs this. And even the question of what do you need is shocking for us. Like if I asked you, Valentina, what do you need? You'll be like, I need to buy books for my daughter. I need to pay school fees. I don't know how she's going to learn because she's at home. And I'm not even asking, what does your child need? I'm asking you, Wairimu, what do you need? But the answer becomes it's other people and their responsibilities, and not you, the person, or not you, the self. If you run a business or if you run an organization, the first question I ask you, what do you need? You say, hey, I need pads for my children. I need beds for the 15 that are still, waiting. I need to find money for salaries for my staff. But I've not even asked, what does your business or your organization or your company need? I'm asking, what do you, the person, need? And so we take up the responsibility for so many other people that we are not on the list. And then what happens is that we lose balance, because at some point we start to get very overwhelmed. It's something that we could easily have done with a lot of ease, but because we have taken up so many responsibilities, we can't do any well. So we end up being stuck, or we end up feeling like, I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. I'm just confused. Why? When I ask you why, you come up with a list. So-and-so needs, I have to do this and that. The other thing, it's a list of another 15 things that you have to do. And so you start to lose balance. And the more you lose balance, the more you start to get affected. And the other thing that happens is everybody else who you have taken the responsibility for gets directly affected. If I would just give an example, if you today fell sick because you have overworked and burnt out, if I would ask you how many people would lose, that list would be from here to I don't even know where, just a single person. Doesn't that tell you how much important it is for you to take care of yourself? When you're feeling sick and you're thinking, no, let me just push. I finish these clothes and then I'll go to the doctor tomorrow. And then you pass out today. Those clothes have not been washed. Your children are not going to have any clothes to wear today evening or tomorrow. And the other list of very many other people whom you have taken responsibility for end up losing. And so that's the paradox of it, that in taking care of yourself, everybody else benefits. And yet we sacrifice for ourselves so much in the hope that everybody else will benefit, until we get to our limit, or we get to our exhaustion point, and then everybody else loses. And that's the funny thing. And that's why it's so interesting to me how important it is for you to take care of yourself as a mom and as a woman, because then everybody else benefits. And if you don't, everybody else, including you, ends up losing. And that's why it's so important to say no. It's to say, no, I can't come for that meeting, and leave it there. You're not even doing anything. You're just in your house resting because your body is physically exhausted. And you say, no, I can't show up. No, we can't go today. No, you can't come and see me. No, I can't buy you tea. I don't have money. I'll get into debt. And that's why it's important for us to say no. The reason that we don't is because we are afraid of being abandoned. Most of us also as moms, you know this statement where we say that I'm raising my children so that when I am old, they will take care of me. And not realizing that it's your responsibility to take care of you. It's not the responsibility of your children. And sadly, for many of us, when we grow older, it becomes so painful for us because these children end up abandoning us. Or these children end up living and having their own lives and not seeing the way we have sacrificed for them, or not doing as much as we would want them to do for us. Because we are afraid that if we take care of ourselves now, I will lose this relationship. I will lose, this man says that I should show up in the house every day from 5. If I lose this job, I don't care if I lose this job or I don't lose, I have to show up in the home by 5. Because I'm afraid that if I show up at 6, he's going to leave. I'm afraid that if I don't do this for my daughter, she's going to start crying or fussing. I'm afraid that if I don't do this sacrifice for my son, atapotea, he's going to get lost. And so if you put a list of the things you'd want to do for yourself, you remove them because you're afraid of abandonment, which actually is a huge, huge risk. And you're afraid of rejection. Rejection being that if you don't sacrifice, this person will not like you. If you don't sacrifice, or if you stand up for yourself and say no, the people in your board are going to say, we need to fire you. Or you don't agree with our policies, so you're not a good fit for us. That fear makes you say, no, I can't say no. Let me just say yes, even if I don't agree. That's the other reason that we refuse, or we just sort of let people step on our boundaries because we're afraid of rejection. The other thing that happens is that we are not very confident in who we are as people, in who we are. We are not confident in our sense of identity. And so this person's acceptance is so important to us because it's going to reinforce what we believe about ourselves. Or it's going to reinforce what people have been saying about us. So if people say, you are such a nice person, we really like you, you get along with people so well, and this person is really stepping on your toes and you're about to lose your mind, you tell yourself, no, let me just calm down because I'm a nice person. And because these people, they really see me as such a composed person, I'm so well put together. So you're not going to communicate and say, here, no, this is unacceptable, and you'll not stand up for yourself. Because what they view of you communicates or reinforces what you believe about yourself as a person. And that's the tricky bit. And the other reason is because that lack of self-confidence in our identity is part of what contributes to us not being comfortable with our boundaries. Is part of what contributes to us not communicating them clearly. Is part of what is responsible for us not taking care of us. Because you think, if I take myself swimming and my children are just in the house, how will they feel? You know, or if I buy myself a new pair of shoes and my husband doesn't have any, how will he feel? And so you stop buying your own shoes and you go and buy for your husband. You stop taking yourself swimming and you say, kids, come, let's go. You're taking all of them swimming because you're a mom. And also because you're feeling like, if I do this for me, how will they feel? They will not be happy, or they'll be sad, or they'll feel jealous, or they'll feel like I don't care about them. So all this contributes to us saying, no, let me not do this for myself. I can wait. I can wait until next year. I need a new laptop because I can't even have meetings, but my son is studying IT in the university. Now let me just buy for him. I'll figure it out. I'll know how to handle my own things. But that's where you keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it. And then you realize the other funny thing is that it's not reciprocated. If you're the one who keeps taking your friends out for dinner, they're like, hey, we've really missed you. We should go out for drinks. You go take them out for drinks today, next week, next month, 6 months, 1 year. And then you call them and tell them, hey, let's go out for drinks. And they say, no, I can't go. I'm not in a position at the moment. You start to ask yourself, how is it that when I want us to go out, they are saying no? But when they want, I'm saying yes. What happens? You start to feel that there's no reciprocity, and then you start to question this relationship. Or if they're not giving back to you the way you want, you start to question if you have really invested as much in them if it was the right decision to invest in as much in them as you have. And so what happens? You pull back. When they call you, you don't answer their calls. When they try to reach out to you, you are not even saying, they don't even know what's going on. But you never communicated that in this friendship or in this relationship, I'm expecting that there will be reciprocity. The other thing that happens is you start to resent those people. So that's why you pull back and you'll start saying, so and so, they're the worst people in the world. Imagine I've done A, B, C, D. They have never done anything for me. Imagine. All these years we have been friends. I've gone to the children being born. I've invested in their business. But they have never done anything for me. So that resentment starts to pile up. And then who does it start eating? You. Who starts to be angry at themselves? You start asking yourself, how would I make such a silly decision to support this person for so long? And so then the ball and the light starts being shined back on you and what you feel you have not done right or where you feel you have not done well. But all this could have been avoided if you took care of you first. If you put your name on that list, the first name, then all those other people follow on the list. But it starts with you, then every other person follows, every other issue follows. And that also means that the statement that I want to end with is that self-care is selfless. It's not selfish. It's actually selfless because everybody benefits when you take care of yourself. And if that is not the definition of being selfless, I don't know what is the definition of being selfless. And I'm going to end it here with a quote that not everyone deserves to be in your circle and not everyone deserves to be in your schedule. Yes, and I will throw it back to our hosts.
You've said not everyone deserves to be in our schedule and in our
circle.
In our circle. Wow, that's a powerful way to end. But these are African mothers. Hey, we are going to struggle, but we'll read the notes. So first I want to start by saying thank you so much, Serah. I loved that you brought your own example, which for me showed such authenticity, because then it means even though you're a counselor, you're struggling with the same things that we do. And so I'll open the floor, but first I want to read some comments and questions that were written while you were going ahead with your talk. So Valentina was asking, does it mean if my first instinct is no, I should stick to my guns?
Yes. When your first instinct is no, you should stick to your guts, be firm, but respectful. That's usually the problem, is that most of us we are disrespectful in how we say no. We say no in trying to make the other person feel less than. But yes, when your gut says no, follow it, communicate it clearly, be firm, but also very, very respectful to whoever it is that you're saying no to. Yes.
Yeah. And she was also saying she's happy to join the conversation and she's proud. Winfred is proud of you, Serah. Keep informing. There's a time you were talking a lot about communication and she was saying communication is key for sure instead of the long T. I love that part because it's so relatable. Yeah. So there's another question. At what point do you know you're talking too much? Because she thinks most of us women have lost balance at some point in our lives. How do you know you're talking too much?
You're talking too much or taking too much.
Taking too much. Sorry.
How do you know that you're taking too much?
Yeah.
When you start to feel uncomfortable, when you start to feel nervous, when you start to feel, no, I'm not so sure, but I'll just push myself. Those are some of the indicators that you're taking too much. Also, when you start to feel drained, you know, when you're going to meet someone or you're going, like, that's the first question I asked. Have you ever felt drained when you're going to meet someone? That's an indicator that you shouldn't. But we will push ourselves and we'll say, no, I just have to go. I just have to do. But that's the indicator. When you're feeling nervous, when you're feeling, no, here I should not do it. That's what tells you that you're taking too much. Also, when you start to feel very overwhelmed, you can take so many responsibilities. I usually like to use the metaphor of a tank. You as a person, you're a tank that is full. And so taking on responsibilities opens the tank full of water, and the water keeps pouring, and the water keeps pouring out. But when there's nothing that is refilling the tank does run empty. And so when the tank runs empty, you'll start becoming very, very irritable. Things that you could have done with much ease suddenly just become very cumbersome and bothersome. If you would initially have been very excited about having guests over in your house, you're like, I don't even want them to come, but let them just come. It means you have hosted too many people. You need to take a break and just relax. So when you start to feel also that the things that initially would not overwhelm you are now starting to overwhelm you, and you would do them with ease, it means you're taking on too much. And how do you take care of yourself? You need to release those responsibilities. Delegate as many of them as you can. If you can't delegate, take a break. You either buy time so that you can take a break and rejuvenate. And this is where the self-care comes in, a lot of it, because self-care is one of the things that fills the tank. That is the person. So self-care comes in, and you take a break to take care of yourself. You take a break so that you can also listen to your body, listen to what's going on around you, and take care of yourself. That also means that when you come back, you're going to be in tip-top shape to take on all those responsibilities that are already making you feel so overwhelmed that you couldn't continue with them before.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah. And then there are some comments agreeing with you that Bridget said fear of abandonment is real. Valentina said, I think also being a yes woman has led many women into crazy relationships, Aki.
Yes, I want to add there, being a yes woman has made many people get into very unhealthy relationships because we are afraid. We are afraid of being abandoned. We are afraid of being rejected. We are afraid of being alone because we feel like it means we are not enough, or it means that there's somewhere we haven't reached. And so we will say yes, even to a relationship that makes us uncomfortable because we are afraid. When we know we should say no, when we know this behavior is an indicator that there is an issue, but we'll still say, we'll still agree, we'll still go on that date when this person is so touchy and is making you uncomfortable, but you are still like, okay, I'll come for coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also Winfred was adding to what you said, that there is power in saying no. Bridget was emphasizing that resentment builds over time, you know, because you hold it in so much, you start resenting people. So yeah, we need to say, yeah, so the other comments about saying self-care, yes, self-care is selfless. And just being in agreement. Anne says, thank you for a wonderful presentation. God bless you. Winfred, proud mom I am. Sarah, you know your smile is infectious. Felicitas, you can overdo, thanks. And then there was Caroline said, fantastic discussion. Thank you, Sarah. Fatma says, overwhelm has been part of my daily emotion. Thank you for such an enlightening session. Clearly, I need to set my boundaries. And I'm very thankful because you gave us a process. I think sometimes you hear talks, but when they don't leave you with a take home, you know, because you've given us a process, start with what is unacceptable. And for your home, not for other. Don't go telling other people your rules. It's what's unacceptable for you. Yeah. Then make sure you then you say what is important. You create what is unacceptable because there's something that's important to you, and then make sure you communicate. Now I think that's where, like, we know what's unacceptable, we know what's important, but we never communicate. And I love that because I think that's in there, that's the thing that we do not do. And I hope, if anything else, people carry that about how to communicate.
Allow me to add here just a minute.
Yeah, please do.
This is not just when it comes to outsiders, it's also what's unacceptable with the people in our homes and with the people we're in relationships with. Because it can be easier for us to say what's unacceptable with relatives. But if something is making us uncomfortable and is unacceptable for us with our husband or our boyfriend or our partner, we are like, I don't want to say this. So it applies to all areas. If something is unacceptable for you in your home with your husband, not the children, with your husband, you need to communicate it, because it's the same thing. Like I said, the silence breeds resentment that keeps building up over time. And the day you start to say, you say 50,000 shilling things, and your husband asks you, but why have you never communicated? I didn't know that.
I'm laughing, but how true, especially now, COVID, because we are all home, habits. We are noticing things which we've been holding in for so long. So I want to leave, is there anybody who wants to ask a question, make a comment, thank Sarah? The floor is open. Helen?
Yes,
Karibu.
please.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Hi, my daughter. I'm so elated to see and listen to you. This time it's me listening to you and not you listening to mommy. Thank you. I'm ever proud of you. Ladies, this girl started with us. Her first practice was done in our safe house for girls, where we rescue girls. So I'm ever proud. Now, I have a couple of questions. Now, this is a mom. Definitely, you understand my area. A mom and a mom to many. For example, the situation I am in is where you have many children you are rescuing. Therefore, they call you mom. They expect everything there. There is culture differences, and boundaries might also be a problem in marking that. There is also, some of them have some problem with the peer influence. Their behavior is, affected or dictated by the peer that they are in. And I sometimes I don't blame them, is because they want to fit in some grouping. Because hey, if you don't do this, then you'll not be my friend, such like. And then another question is on the siblings, rivalry. You are home, it's your own home now. You're having this sibling rivalry, and it becomes sometimes very murky. In fact, you see the last born and the follower, it becomes a very murky. And sometimes you lose it also. And I don't know how to set that boundary. You say, chana na mtoto. And the other one is like, kwani mimi si mtoto wako? Such like thing. And they grow dissenting onto something. And I've ever seen one of them telling the mother, can we have another baby so that to replace the last born? Because she feels that this is too much. Now, the other one is, in the families, we also have favorite child. I know this is a problem that have been brought to me several times. And I don't know what, Sarah, at a professional level, you can advise people. And I think this today may not be the last whatever. And I thank you for organizing this. Honestly, I wish it is a weekly because I have a lot of ladies that need to do that. So you get favorite child maybe was named after on the side of mommy, on the side of daddy. And there's a push and pull factors. So you get that there's some favoritism. And the other one, it's like spying on the mother. Yeah. And the other one spying on the father because there's a favorite child. How do you address that as a woman when all of them, including that guy is your husband? What do you do? And then of recent contemporary society, we are having competition between mothers or moms and daughters. It is becoming murky. And I don't know whether the problem starts when you are raising this young girl up to an extent that she become obsessed, unholy too close to the father. And that is what is leading them to being abused by their own fathers. And at one moment, I remember one saying, hey, mommy, I love daddy, so what? What do you want me to do? It is very painful because the girl does not see the mother as a mother, but just a woman like any other. Situations like this is what is happening right now with the COVID-19 now that everybody is inside the house. And that is why GBV is very high and needs really to be addressed, even if it's not today. And then we are so, as mommy, how do we, because I am, my work revolves around the combating sexual and gender-based violence. But you see that it's like mummies, we have taken violence like it's normal. It's shameful to go and report. And as a result, our children, because we are together with our children, they are growing knowing that there's no need of reporting. It's okay to be done A, B, and C. And then you call akamkuji, naenda kwetu, mtoto alikuja akaniambia alikuwa anamuguza vibaya. Alafu nasema baba kama huu, wacha tuseme hii maneno ya nyumbani ishe hapa, utoa buzi. Are you getting me? That justice, nobody is reporting, not because of anything, but because of the expectation from the society, the way the society looks at a woman, a girl child. It's like you stay in maneno ya nyumbani. So all those are the areas that really I would like, I don't know which ones you can tackle today and others you can raise a topic for the next time. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much, Helen, for all those questions and also for the comments. For the rest of for our audience, so my very first opportunity to work, I worked with Helen in her organization. It's called One More Day for Children, that rescues girls from FGM and early marriage. And it was an incredible opportunity for me to grow. I'll go directly to the questions on, first of all, sibling rivalry and how you as a mom can handle it. Also, especially when it comes to boundaries, because what happens with siblings is that the fact that they don't know that there are boundaries or that there should be boundaries makes them keep fighting over each other and over what the other has or what the other is doing. And so one of the things that needs to come very clearly from you or from us as moms is to communicate to these children that what is acceptable behavior as a sibling, what is your responsibility as a sibling towards your other sibling. And this is a conversation that happens for both. So it's not the older one who is being told, this is your responsibility towards the younger one. If the younger one is able to understand communication, it's both of them that hear that you have a responsibility to help your brother. You have a responsibility to not take your sister's toys. You have a responsibility to take care of them. What you feel are the issues that are bringing this rivalry, you address them by giving them as responsibilities to the children. If the smaller one, there's one who is too young, then the older one then has to take more responsibility until the younger one grows up and gets to a point where they can be able to understand, okay, so for me as a younger sibling, this is my responsibility towards my older sibling or my older brother or sister. That's not to say that when you communicate the responsibilities that is going to be heaven. No, it just means that it's going to reduce the conflict areas, number one. Number two, you will also have to add consequences, so that if this child is disrespecting or is abusing or is not doing what you have given them as their responsibilities, what become the consequences? Because you cannot constantly tell your children, acha kupigana na huyo, stop fighting with that one, stop, every single day. There must be consequences that you as a mom say, this is where the boundaries are when you're relating as siblings. These are the consequences if you don't relate well. And those consequences are not in word only. If you say you're going to beat them, you beat them. If you say they're going to sleep in the police cell, they sleep in the police cell. You don't say and you don't do, because it teaches the opposite, that I'll do, mom will not do anything. She will threaten us, but she will not do anything. So you have to come up with consequences that address the disregard for where you have communicated the boundaries to be, so that everybody in the siblings know, if I do this, this is going to be the consequence. So I don't want to do it, so I'm going to follow what is healthy or what is the benefit for the relationship. But that's not a switch that's going to just happen, like you switch it off and everything changes. It's going to be gradual, and you'll also need to be very consistent in reminding them, because they're children and they're growing and they're changing, in reminding them, this is how to relate. These are where the boundaries are. If it's your smaller sister, you don't touch her here and there and all of that. And also the consequences have to be consistently reinforced, so that these lessons are learned by the children, and also so that it reduces the sibling rivalry. So that's how I'm going to answer that. When it comes to you being a mom to many, and I'm sure there are, you as a mom to many, there are also parents who are moms to teens, where parents are moms to teens, it means usually what happens with development actually for teenagers is that at that age of 12, 13, all the way to 18, the relationships moves from the family to the peers. So if it's dress code, they will dress according to their friends. They will not dress the way you dress, even if you tell them. If it's decision making, it happens according to their peers. So what they need is guidance, number one, so that you don't leave them to do whatever they want or to do whatever their peers want. Excuse me, guidance means you tell them that sometimes your friends can say that they want you to do this, but the truth is they don't. They can tell you they want to have a boyfriend, or you should have a boyfriend to be our friend, but they don't have. Or they will tell you you should have sex, but they are not having sex. So for you as a parent and as a mom, is giving them guidance. Number two is you taking a responsibility to understand or to psychoeducate yourself on what are the developmental changes going on with this teen. Because they first of all move from parent to peer. That means whatever the peers say overrules what the parents say. So for you, you have to constantly keep insisting so that it's not changing. I used to feel like this, but my mom also now agrees with me. No, so it's not changing for you as a mom. Where you put the boundaries, if in your home, you have to be home by 6. That will not change because this has become a teenager. So you will still communicate that in my home, this is where the boundary is at. You have to be home by 6. If you're not home by 6, what's the consequence? And that consequence has to be applied. It can't just be left like that. So they come today at 6 because they'll test. They're very testy with boundaries. There's a lot of conflict, by the way, at teenagehood. There's a lot of experimentation. So they will kiss a boy there, they will kiss a girl there. There's a lot of experimentation in teenagehood, and that's why you as a parent also need to be very involved and to also monitor who are these peers, what are they doing, and what are they not doing, so that you know how to help your own children. And also, when you're able to instill, especially when you're mom to many, when it becomes a culture for the many, that this is the way things are done here, it will be easier for an outside girl to come in and adapt to the culture. So it means that there is positive peer influence, which through your guidance can be created for your girls, so that there is that sense of fitting in within the circle of their friends. There's also a sense of, if you decide that this is what you want to do with your friends, these are the potential consequences which you do as a mom, which you guide because you're a mom, both boys and girls, not just for girls only or boys only. So I'm going to leave it there, but there's something I want to address when it comes to favorites before we take any other questions. When it comes to favorites, fathers, first of all, there's a need for you to communicate what is unacceptable. Because if your husband is going to buy a gift for his favorite child and is not going to buy a gift for the other children, and that is unacceptable for you, you need to communicate that. You need to be clear with your spouse on, we need to treat this, for me is unacceptable because it makes this child feel like they are not deserving or they are not worthy. So it's actually a very important boundary to communicate when it comes to favorites. Number two, it's not possible for parents to love their children like if you were to take a measure and say all these children are loved 80%, because they have different personalities and they have different temperaments and different behaviors. So of course the affections will vary, also different behaviors. But the key is when you are reinforcing positive behavior or when you're awarding positive behavior, award for all. If you're communicating a boundary, let it apply for all, so that somebody doesn't feel like, I'm the favorite, I can do whatever I want, mom will not do anything to me. So if you're applying boundaries in your home, they apply for all the children. If you're rewarding positive behavior, you are rewarding for all the children. The other thing that you need to identify is, what is it that these other children who are not your favorite, quote unquote, need to be nurtured, so that you're also nurturing it, and the other children don't grow up resenting their sibling because mom or dad loves them better or more, or does things for them better or more than the rest of us. I'm now putting myself in the shoes of the child. So addressing it as a point of boundary for you as a mom with the favoritism, so that it stops being encouraged, and being clear that this is not, is making so and so, or is communicating that this child is not important to you or doesn't matter. And that for me is unacceptable. And there needs to be a consequence, because he may also decide to push back and say, I'll still buy the gifts, I'll still take her out and leave the other children. So you also need to have consequences on what happens when those boundaries are also being crossed.
Thank you, Serah. Before I read the other comments, is there anybody who wants to maybe say something, ask a question? I don't want to close off anyone. Okay, so let me read the questions. Bridget was laughing because she's saying, how do you deal with when children say, you know, like when moms beat si uchungu. Kuchapa ya mom si ya uchungu. So I was telling her, I used to say that for my mom because she was not serious with her pinches. You'd feel nothing, you know.
Okay, mom needs to add muscles so that kiboko ikue uchungu. But also, you know that even when you're punishing, it may not necessarily be kiboko haski kiboko, yeah, but something else ataskia. If you take away their phone, ataskia. If you tell them not TV, kwanza Sally anataka kuwatch Selena imeshika. Tell them switch that off. You are doing ABCD, which was not good behavior. So if one way of trying to correct behavior doesn't work, explore. You don't have to insist. Also you can have either your husband or an older figure, someone whose kiboko ni uchungu, reinforce the message for you.
Thank you. Yeah, and what about FBI skills? Should we go through our children's stuff? Because Silantoi says teens some FBI skills in spying is needed, and Fatma agrees.
Oh yes, we don't call it FBI, we call it monitoring. Yes, especially for teenagers. This is where many moms end up saying, I won't follow my teenager, I want to give them freedom. And then sometimes they end up getting lost. It's important for you as a parent to monitor. You need to know who are their friends. You need to know if they're online, what are they posting on their social media. You might find that your child is posting half-naked photos online. And also there's a lot of risk of, not even just cyberbullying, there's a lot of risk of, what do we call it, where people prey on girls online because they can see, this looks like a child. And children get convinced to leave their homes and to go and meet strangers that they have met online simply because of nobody knew. And they said, mommy, I'm just going to see my friends. And you said, okay, fine, you go see your friends. How much money do you need? You gave them fare. They went. They were not going to meet a friend. They were actually going to meet somebody that they met online. So it's important for parents to monitor who are their children's friends, who are they talking to, not just face-to-face, but also online. What kind of content are they talking about? What kind of content are they consuming, so that you can be able to offer guidance? It's with a lot of wisdom. It's not, you don't go to your teenager's room and just lift the bed up and you take the suitcase and you pour all the clothes outside. It's with a lot of wisdom, so that you can bring the children to start to trust you and to tell you what's going on with them. But also you are also confirming for yourself, because children also know how to manipulate, especially teens. So you need to also be sure that if your child is saying she's going to meet her friend who is a girl, if the girl came with another boy, you know, because this other boy said, hey, me, I want to meet your daughter. I want to meet that friend of yours. So monitoring is critical, especially at teenagehood. And it's critical for the purpose of guidance. And not, moms, I have to say here, you're not monitoring to find ammunition for your bazooka, where you just put bullets. You went and did bullets. And then when they make a mistake, you start to go up on them. No, you're not monitoring so that you can get ammunition for arguments or fights. No, you're monitoring so that you can guide.
Thank you, Serah. I hope, ladies, this was a wonderful way to spend this cold Wednesday morning, going afternoon, but I'm so thankful. I want to reiterate everything Serah was saying in one verse. The Bible says in Luke 10:27, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So you cannot give what you do not have. If you do not love yourself, you will not love your neighbor. So the list that Serah was talking, can we put ourselves immediately after God in your list? Your name is the one that should appear, because the way you love God, he transfers that his love to you, and then you transfer that love of yourself and of God to everybody around you. Moms, we must love ourselves. And when in loving ourselves, we give everybody permission to be their authentic self. Otherwise, everybody will walk on eggshells around you. So I know Serah had told you, I'll tell you how often these talks are, especially for those who are new. We have this conversation every 2 weeks. So we'll skip next Wednesday and have it the other Wednesday. There's something Serah was saying, the wisdom of how you're going to have conversations, because one of the things she has said is communicate. And she said sometimes how we communicate is the problem, isn't it, Serah? So yeah. The other Wednesday, we are going to have a conversation around emotional intelligence, because emotional intelligence is all about learning to regulate yourself when you're having even the deep or conflict-based or sensitive conversation. So I hope you will join us again in 2 weeks' time, where we learn about having emotional intelligence as moms, because that's a skill I think everybody needs to have, so that even when you're telling your husband or your child or this relative who has come for long tea, you're not going to talk to them vibaya, the one for, that woman who joined our family. Sasa anaenjoy vitu za kijana yetu, anaweza tuongelesha vibaya, Yeah, you'll have some emotional intelligence. They won't know what hit them because you're well equipped in your communication skills. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we're going to have Bridget. I've seen Bridget here, and she's going to share a powerful story of how she survived an abusive relationship. Because we as moms need to be fully equipped for life. We are not going back into normalcy the same way. We have to show up into the world ready to conquer it. And how does it start? By being well skilled. So I was your host. My name is Wairimu Kanyi Kahoro. In the social media, you'll find me as the ODDacity Mentor, and ODDacity is ODD, not the Obama one for AU. I've tweaked it, but it means the same. So I just help moms do that, have the audacity to live the life that God has called them to live. Moms, we must win at life, and not just in our faith life, not just in our family life, but I'm an advocate of moms winning even in our finances, so that then our purpose here on earth, we'll fulfill it. We'll do what Miles Monroe says, we'll leave this earth completely empty, like you've done everything. So if you're going to be a mom, be the best ever mom. Don't be a sad mom. Be a mom with boundaries. Be a mom who takes care of herself. So Serah, would you like me to share your number, or you'd like to type it in for us?
Okay, I'll share my number. If you are on social media, I go as Serah Muindi. Yeah, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Muindi. Yes, yeah. I'm online. Online, I'm Serah Muindi. If you do a quick Google, you will be able to find me there. Yeah. I'm just typing my number right now. Okay. So good. That you guys, in case you want to reach out to me, you can. Yeah. And I want to add that when we talk about, when we talk about boundaries, Helen had raised something on the increase in gender-based violence, because we are all in the same space with our spouses, and there's a lot of gender-based violence that's going on. That's another area of boundary, physical boundaries, and there have to be consequences. If your spouse is, or you yourself are having or being abused or are abusing, there have to be boundaries, because women are suffering in silence because they don't know that you need to also have physical boundaries. Someone should not be slapping you in your house or calling you names or insulting you. No, that should not be happening, and there should be boundaries for you. There should also be consequences. And I'm very, very glad that you have said that Bridget will be sharing about her experience, because it's very good for women to also know and see that other women are standing up for themselves, and they're standing up for their boundaries, especially when it comes to physical and emotional. And I'm just excited. Also financial, because there are people who abuse you by withholding money, so that you dance to their tune if you even want food on your table. And so it's happening in very many dynamics. And first of all, the hint or the first point for us, as we will be opening that conversation, is to decide for us where our physical and emotional boundaries are, especially when it comes to our spouses. Then she will be sharing with us on how she has been able to overcome an abusive relationship, and hopefully we will pick some of the things that we need to do. And one of the key consequences is usually walking out of that relationship, especially because you're doing harm to you. And like we said, when you do harm to you, everybody else ends up being affected. And so that is very exciting for me. I run an organization called Hopewell Counseling Farm, where we provide mental health care services and counseling services for people across the African continent, and yes, even across the globe, depending on where you're at. So if you would want or feel like you need support, or someone you know needs counseling services, please, you can reach out to me. I've seen Ann Keitani, she's also a counselor, and she has shared her phone number in the WhatsApp group, not in the WhatsApp group, in the chat. So you'll also be able to, you can also reach out to her in case you need support with something, or you need someone to work with you through something. I'll say this here, for us, especially women actually, when it comes to statistics, more women suffer from depression than men. The difference is that more men die by suicide because of depression, but many women suffer from depression than men, and we have to get better. We have to get well. We have to grow. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne, for sharing your number. It's right there. And ladies, you're in this group, you feel you have a powerful message to share. Don't keep it to yourself. Even us, we want to grow. So just get in contact with me. I met Bridget in another forum we are in together. We are sharing the same coach. Yeah, so just you have a powerful story. And my coach used to say, your story is your gold mine. I started mentorship because of my own pain, my own story. So there's something that you can change through your, sharing your story. You don't know. I think it's Bridget who shared in the other forum, and she said that there's something you can share that is the lifeline of somebody else. You'll provide a lifeline for somebody else. So don't keep it to yourself. We all have a message. So I'm very thankful for everybody. I have respected your time. We are supposed to end at 12:30. I can see it's like 3 minutes too. So allow me to share. I'm having a money mindset makeover for moms. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you're in this group, please write to me. I'll give you a heavy discount. I'm giving moms a powerful program at a affordable price of diapers. So I've scaled it down to 2,000 shillings, just so that you live, the money you make will be much more than what I charge you, because your mindset has changed. I'm a mindset and life mentor, and so I'm so grateful. So we'll continue holding this. This is a free conversation. If this is the only thing you attend, at least you will live when you have changed. So Sarah, thank you for your well-organized, well-articulated talk. Yeah, and thank you for coming, here, because if you didn't say what you do the last time you were here, I would never have reached out and gained from this experience. So thank you so much. And may God bless you. May He expand your boundaries, and may He help you to accomplish what He has called you here to do. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Thank you,
Amen.
ladies. Where are the faces? Ama, we are wearing vitambas. We should show our faces. Oh, thank you, Hannah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. And
Bye-bye.
thank you, Fatma, for the, for the free advertisement of my Mom and Money course. It's very insightful. And one of the benefits you get is how to have a date with your husband over money conversations. Thank you, Bridget, for showing your face. Yeah. And Felicitas has been with us all along, and Helen as well, and Anne. Thank you. It's nice to see people you're talking to, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
So thank you, ladies. God bless you. See you in 2 weeks' time, or unless you're coming to, just watch for the program. I'll put it up there in my ODDacity Mentor Facebook and Instagram pages. God bless you.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you.